Welcome back to The Collaborative, the podcast for young professionals in Michigan's credit union world who are out here trying to connect, grow, and basically take over the world of cooperative finance, one episode at a time. And as always, we're powered by Fuel Michigan because even podcasts need hype squads. Whether you're tuning in on your commute, at your desk pretending to look very productive, or with just a cup of coffee that may or may not be your second or your third, I'm just really glad you're here. I'm your host, Camille. Now let's get into it before your coffee gets cold.
Well, welcome. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yay. So tell me, met you through Q's, so we did
Mhm.
that last year. Tell me about how you got started here and how did that journey evolve from where you started over 10 years ago to now, how you became VP of Consumer Lending.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually started, it's actually a crazy story because I don't know how I started in the credit union industry. I actually interviewed with a bank. I interviewed for Chase. I was about to go be a part-time teller there. And at that time, I got a call from a credit union and they were confirming my interview. And I was like, you know what? I've got nothing going on that day. It will be good practice. So never applied at this credit union. I never even applied to be a teller at Chase. I had a family member that worked there. And so that's how that interview was set up. So it's not like I had been out there applying for jobs, anything like that. So I still don't know how that happened, but I went to this interview at a credit union and just the mission behind credit unions, the credit union, the purpose there was so different than when I interviewed at the bank. So I walked out of there. They called me about 10 minutes later, offered me the position. And I was like, you know what? I think this is the right move for me. So very thankful that it happened. Don't know how it happened. It must have just been meant to be that I ended up in credit unions.
The universe had it planned for you.
Exactly, exactly. So I was a part-time teller. Like I said, I was going to school to become a veterinarian, actually. I had said since I was 3 years old, I wanted to be a veterinarian. I was in school for it. I was actually in my internship for it. And at that time, I had to put a dog down for the first time. And like you think about these things, right? And it's never going to be an easy thing. But the first dog I had to put down, there was this 35-year-old woman laying on top of the dog, bawling her eyes out. And I was like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. Like I can't, like that's going to be hard. And luckily I loved what I was doing at the credit union. And I just made the decision that, you know, I really like the credit union industry. I like what I'm doing. Let's see if I can grow from or in this industry that I already really do enjoy. So I went to full time at the credit union and just kind of started growing from there. So became a part-time teller. Actually, before I became a full-time MSR, I became a part-time MSR. Made the decision to go full-time. Went to another credit union as an assistant branch manager. And at that time, the reason why I switched credit unions is the one I was at, you couldn't be promoted into management at the same location. And I wasn't in a place where I was ready to relocate, anything like that. And then I ended up moving back to my hometown and landed at Financial Plus, where I'm at right now. My whole 10 years in credit unions, my first 10 years were all spent in the retail space. So between teller, MSR, assistant manager, branch manager, and then I became the senior district manager, which oversaw a group of half of our branches, six of our branches. And I was very accustomed to the retail side of things. But a little over a year ago, I was approached and asked if I would consider coming over to lending. And so here I am now, VP of Consumer Lending. It was definitely a big jump. It was definitely something that was a little scary for me,
Yeah.
but I've loved it. I love learning, and I've been able to learn a lot of new stuff over the last year.
That's awesome. I love how you didn't even apply. It just, here I am. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Right, exactly. It's crazy just to think about it, but like I'm so thankful it happened, obviously, because now here I am. Like my career's been built around the credit union industry, and
Yeah.
very happy that I didn't have to go, work at the B word.
It's one of my favorite things is when we get new employees and they say, oh, our customers. And we're like, No, especially if they come from a bank and like just seeing like the culture shock because like we're like, no, you don't say those words.
Right, exactly.
What challenges have you had since going to consumer lendings other than it's totally out of your
Yeah.
comfort zone?
Yeah, there's a couple I can think of just off the top of my head, and both of them are really more recent in my career. And the first one was I mentioned that I went from being a branch manager to a senior district manager and oversaw 6 of our branches at that time. Well, 5 of those or 4 of those 6 branches actually just came to us in a merger.
Oh.
So, very different, like, culture, very different, like, great credit union, like, love that they were brought into our company, but when you're going from being a peer with people that were just brought into the company and now you're leading them, they're coming through a merger, they have a lot of unknowns with the company. It can be challenging, and it can be challenging to earn their trust and as an outsider coming in. So I would say that was the first one that was really a challenge for me. And I absolutely love everyone that I ended up working with through that position. They're amazing people, and we were able to build that trust in our relationship. And luckily, I've been able to see them grow in their roles and everything throughout that. And then the second one I would say is coming over as a VP of consumer lending, because when I say I was an outsider, right, during the merger, coming in as a senior district manager, now I'm really an outsider because I've never even been in consumer lending. Like I've always just been in retail. So, and then coming in at the level I was coming in, there is a lot of like, oh, does she deserve the position? Why
Yep.
did she get this role? Right. So again, just goes back to building trust. Like it's definitely a challenge coming into those things. And you do kind of have to prove yourself. And it's okay to know that you have to prove yourself and to not get upset. You shouldn't get upset that you have to take that time to start building the trust, that it's not just going to be there right when you come into that position. So I would say those would probably be the 2 biggest challenges I've had in my journey in credit unions. Also, 2 of the most rewarding things I've done in my journey through credit unions. So definitely wouldn't change it. I've definitely learned so much through both of those things, learned more in those transition periods than I have in the other 10 years I've spent in credit unions.
We have never gone through a merger, and I don't know if I'm cut out for that. I don't like uncertainty. I'm
Right.
not good with it.
Right,
It
and
sounds
that's where
stressful.
you just have to have that understanding, right? The position I was stepping into, they were dealing with a lot of uncertainty. They were coming into a company that they didn't really know much about, and, like, I can sit there and tell them Financial Plus is an amazing company to work for all day long, but they're not gonna
Yeah.
really have that confidence until they see it, in front of them, and luckily, it's been a great merger. A lot of amazing people have, come into our organization because of it.
How did you first get involved with fuel? Because I knew you were involved in fuel when I applied for Q's,
Mhm.
and now neither of us are in it this year, which is
Right.
it's
First year
weird.
away from it. So, actually, I became involved in fuel kind of I feel like it was kind of backwards, I guess, because I applied to be the fuel liaison with the Q's Council of Michigan before I actually was officially in fuel.
Really? That's
So,
cool.
yeah, so Jessica McNear was previously the fuel liaison for the Q's
Yeah.
Council, and her term was ending, so she approached me about it, and she was like, "You know, think about it, this could be something that you'd really like doing." So, I had heard about fuel, a lot of people in our credit union had been involved in fuel, I just had never been involved in it up to that point. So, I joined fuel, I was able to get, the role of a fuel liaison for the Q's Council, and that's really where it started for me. So it was kind of taking on both of those at the same time between fuel and the Q's board.
I feel like that would be interesting. Go from like 0 to 100,
Right.
really. That was me with conferences 2 years ago. I'd never been to one, and then I went to 6 in 1 year, and I was like, "What the hell just happened?"
Right.
Sure, let's just do it.
Yeah, you just get thrown into it, you learn, and you go from there.
Yeah, I asked to go to hike the hill this year, and my supervisor said, "Okay, well, if it's a budget and only one of us go, would you be comfortable going alone?" And I was like, "I'd be scared, but I mean, yeah, I'd
Yeah,
find somebody I know and cling to them and
there
be
you
like,
go.
'You're my person.'"
Exactly.
But
Luckily, you have that experience from going to 6 conferences in a year to
Yeah.
where it's not gonna be like, "Oh, I'm going to one of my first events, and now I'm going alone, and now I have to find
If they would
people."
have thrown me
You've made those connections at the other conferences.
if they would have thrown me in DC as my first, I would have been like, nope, bye. I don't want to do this anymore."
Right.
What was it like with Hughes? I talked to Ginger kind of about it, but
Yeah.
what was it on your end? How was that?
No, it was really good. It was first of all, I have to give a shout out to Ginger because she was just an amazing partner to work with as a
She's
fuel
awesome.
liaison on the board. I had actually never met Ginger before that, and we were able to really create a great relationship through our time spent there, and one that will definitely continue on. But it was really good. Basically, what our role was there is to give the Q's Council a just kind of feedback of how they could get their name out more to the young professionals in fuel, and that was our role. And we got to lead scholarship groups, got to meet a ton of amazing young professionals that really inspired me throughout the time being able to do that, and it was just a great experience. Hopefully we'll continue a lot of the relationships that we built through this throughout the rest of my career.
What was your favorite part of it all?
The scholarship groups were honestly my favorite part. It was so fun to see how much passion, like, all of these young professionals brought, and even, like, reading the applications, like, the passion that they
Mhm.
brought to their applications even was, like I said, inspiring, and then getting to spend time with them at the different CUES events, getting to
Yeah.
know them more. It was fun. It was fun, taught me a lot. I took a ton away from each of those scholarship recipients. So a lot of work to plan them sometimes, but definitely completely worth it.
I was so bummed when because I was one of the future, and I was so bummed that I was in so much pain and couldn't
Yeah.
go to dinner with you guys, but it was not pretty. I was like,
No,
I
I
need to
completely
learn to
understand
say
that.
no,
Right.
but it looked like fun, and I really wanted to do economic summit, and I hadn't heard. I was like, I probably didn't get it, and I was like, well, it is what it is. But I think the fact that they even offer that to YPs, I think that's great.
Absolutely. And
And
that's something the CUES Council has done an amazing job of. Like, one of their main focuses now is just how do we help the young professionals in our industry grow, and being able to partner that with the fuel group. It's already in a great spot. It's going to continue to grow and be even greater of a connection as the years go on. Sorry, I have a bit of a sore throat today.
you're good.
Ginger and I, our terms ended as the fuel liaison, so we recently passed those roles on to Erica Duche and Courtney Gazzo, and the direction they're going to take it in is going to be far and above what we were even able to do with it.
Yeah.
So really excited to see where it goes with them on there as the fuel liaisons now.
Courtney was one of our scholarship
Hmm.
people, and I think she's gonna rock it. She
I
did
think so too.
phenomenal.
Yeah,
I think,
both of them are gonna do an
yeah,
outstanding job, and we're gonna see even more growth come and more connection come from Q's and Fuel just with them stepping into those roles now.
I love it. With fuel,
Mhm.
what do you have any advice for like anybody who wants to get involved? Because I mean, like I
Yeah.
have the advice. I kind of put like a blurb together for the email we sent out, because we had a lot of interest in it, but I needed to gracefully step away and let somebody else do it. Let somebody else find that passion. And I I've had a few people say like, what can I do? Like,
Yeah.
do you have any advice on how can YPs who are new to fuel really make the most of their time?
Yeah. I think it's all about being intentional with the connections you build, intentional with the effort that you put into it. I
Mhm.
always tell people at our credit union, like, you're only going to get out of fuel the effort that you put into it. So you can go to an event here or there, you can sit in the back, you can talk to people that that you've already interacted with.
Mhm.
And sure, that will be great. You might get something, a little bit out of it, but where you're going to see growth, where you're going to see yourself evolve is being intentional, gaining those new relationships, connecting with people, having in mind things that you already want to grow and things that you want to take away from fuel, and having those intentional conversations, making those connections. And then once you've made the connections, you have to pour into those if you want them to be
Yeah.
lasting connections. You can't just go introduce yourself to someone at an event and then you're going to have a connection that lasts forever. You have to continue to foster that. You have to continue to pour into that connection if you want it to be a lifelong connection. And a lot of YPs, they may not exactly need those connections right where they're at right now, but there's connections you can make that 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, that's when you're gonna need that connection, and if
Yeah.
you just leave it as a quick introduction, and never touch that, never foster that relationship from there, you're gonna lose that connection and not have that person to reach out to. So things even though it might not be a connection that you need right now, it's important to nurture those relationships so that you do have it when you eventually do need it.
I think a big one for me was I had heard of LinkedIn, but I never got like I literally
Mhm.
stayed the Q1 stay at Q's 2 years ago in 2024. I was literally building it
Yeah.
while because I heard about it and I was like, I should really do this. And that has allowed me kind of to strengthen them more than just like send an email because I can see the updates that they're putting out and I can
Mhm.
congratulate them and talk to them and definitely allows us to strengthen it. And I thought LinkedIn
Yeah.
was kind of like, whatever. And then I've started actually using it, and
Right.
connections have allowed me to connect with somebody in Georgia at another
Right.
credit union to talk about
Mhm.
podcasts a few weeks ago. Like,
Yeah,
I never a
absolutely.
year ago would have thought.
Exactly. Yeah, and another thing that I always like doing is if I'm exchanging a business card with someone, as soon as I walk away from that event, I'm gonna write down on the back of it, like, where I met them,
Oh,
things we
that's a good
talked
idea.
about. If not in a business card, I open the notes app on my phone, I write down their
Yeah,
name, where we met, different things we talked about because then when it's a few weeks later, it's a year later, I can always circle back to like, "Hey, we connected at this event. Like, hope your vacation to Disney was fun that you went on last year." You know what I mean?
that's a good
Um,
idea. I never even
and
thought about that.
really just it not only helps you remember, but it's gonna help them recall who you were when you're reaching out to them. So just making sure, like I said, it all goes back to being intentional with those connections. And part of that is making sure that you remember what you connected about and where you
Yeah.
met them. So those are just two things that I've always done at different networking events just to help me because you meet so many people, right? Like you're not
Yeah.
gonna remember every conversation you had, but that helps you be able to bring it back to top of mind.
Yeah, that's actually insanely clever. I never would have thought of that. You think I
Yeah.
would. I'm on the notes app all the time taking notes at conferences. You'd think I would think of that, but that's a good way to find that connection. And mine is I have severe social anxiety. Like even
Okay.
starting this podcast, I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but here we are. And I make it a point to go up to like three people in a
Yeah.
day and just like compliment them on something because
Mhm.
one, who doesn't love a compliment? Like I love it when I'm wearing like a t-shirt or a dress from like Goodwill and somebody goes, "Oh, I love your outfit. Do you want me to tell you I spent $3 on it at
Yeah.
Goodwill? It's fantastic." And so I love a good compliment, and
Uh-huh.
that is my way of kind of breaking the ice with somebody
Yeah.
and then allowing it to like grow.
Right.
I don't know
Well,
about
I
you.
mean, honestly, kudos to you for starting this, even though like it's not something that was in your comfort zone, because that just means that you're really focused on growing and stepping outside of that.
Yeah.
And I mean, great job with that. But
Thank you.
honestly, I'm the same way. Like I am not an extrovert. Like I network because I know how important networking is. I do
Mhm.
not network because it gives me energy, right?
Yeah.
So I go to events, I do the same thing. I set a goal of like, this is how many conversations with new people I want to start today. And then I also try, if you're going to a conference, looking over the attendee list
Mhm.
beforehand and saying, these are the people that I really want to connect with, and these are the topics I want to connect with them about. But I mean, I leave networking events and I'm exhausted. Like I'm not one of those natural extroverts where it's always
Yeah.
gonna come easy and it's always going to give you that energy. I network because I know how important it is, and I have to be intentional about my networking because it doesn't always come easy.
Yeah. My cousin is the kind of person that conferences energize her. And I'm like,
Yeah.
really? Because I sleep for like 4 days after a 2-day conference. Like, I'm like,
Mhm.
"Leave me alone. I'm not gonna talk." I wanna be that person. I am so not that person.
Right. No,
I
I
love
have
that.
super like, that is a superpower to have, I'm telling you, like, the people that can just go out there and talk to hundreds of people and just keep that
Yeah,
energy level up, I am definitely jealous of the skills that they have. But
right?
the important thing is to remember you don't have to be that to be good at networking. You can be more introverted. You can have that social anxiety, like you said, as you just have to put more work into it, but you can
Yeah.
still be extremely good at networking and creating those connections.
And that's why you have a hotel room at conferences. You can go take a breather. I mean, I do that
Exactly.
very often. Like, it's okay. It's okay. I also bring
Absolutely.
pillow spray, like lavender pillow spray. So when I'm done, I can just be
Nice.
like,
That's a great idea.
yeah, that's how I survive conferences.
Yeah.
That and liquid IV. So with consumer lending,
Mhm.
you've grown into it. What are the trends are you seeing? Do you see any trends?
I
It's
mean,
I don't see a lot of consumer. I'm in compliance, so I don't know
right.
much about it. I see the reviewing, I see the interest rate trends, but that's about all I
Yeah.
see.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of
Very similar.
uncertainty still out there.
Yeah.
I think that that's if you talk about necessarily a trend, but that's what a lot of credit unions are still dealing with. Like there was uncertainty with the tariffs last year. Some of that bleeds into this year. There's some uncertainty with where rates are going to go. So just making sure that we're being proactive and staying on top of what's happening in the industry is always going to be super important. You'll see a lot of people now moving to like AI decisioning, things like that is becoming more popular in our industry and learning it because it's new. Like it's not something that was out there 15, 20 years ago. Like it's something that's new and something we're still learning how to use it as a tool. But there's so many new different vendors and everything
Yeah.
that exist now for consumer lending. So it's just really making sure, like I said, that we're staying proactive, not just with new vendors, but also the vendors that we do have. Are they still meeting our needs? Are they still doing what we expect them to do? And if they're not, what are we going to do moving forward? So it's just things are happening at such a more rapid pace than they have in the past. So it's just important to kind of keep an eye on everything going on the economy.
I think it's also scary with how rapidly it changes and updates, and you have the
Yeah.
AI part of it. And AI in general is a little scary because you have to train it and you have to
Hmm.
learn it and all of these things. And I think there's a definite fear that it's going to take away their job or our
Yeah.
jobs. And meanwhile, like I'm a person, but and a robot can't take over it completely. But if that means it makes my job a little bit easier,
Yeah.
like,
Exactly, and that's my whole outlook on it. I don't think it's going to necessarily take away jobs. What I think it's going to do is, if we're using it correctly, it's going to allow us to use the expertise and the knowledge of our employees on the things that we actually need that expertise and
yeah,
knowledge for. And it's gonna take away that mundane, repetitive, like, it doesn't really matter. If we have a person looking at this, let AI take that on, like, let them do that repetitive stuff. Let's
yeah,
use because our employees and their knowledge and their skills, that's our biggest resource as
mhm,
a, organization, as an industry, is the people, right? So, let us use them on things that we need that skill for, we need that knowledge for and let AI take on the stuff that was just
yeah.
busy work for them.
If it's just checking boxes and making
Right.
sure we have all the documents,
Mhm.
we're looking into an AI like auto decisioner, and I
Uh-huh.
can't wait because I literally review every single loan that we go through,
Yeah.
and I cannot wait for some of it to be auto because then I don't have to look at it as in depth because I know it
Right.
has made everything, and I'm like, I can't wait for the day.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, like, the uncertainty, the new things, the
Mhm.
rapid pace things are coming out, it's always gonna be a little bit scary, but it's also fun, like, we get to learn things so much quicker than
Yeah,
we did in the past, and it's so much more for us to learn, and I love that part, like, I love the learning.
same.
I think that that is the most important part of people grow or anyone who wants to grow, to keep that growth mindset,
Mhm.
to always lean into things that are gonna help you
Yeah.
learn something new, and the pace that things are changing now, it forces you to learn things new.
It
at a quicker
forces
pace.
us, and it definitely forces us, and then so when I was emailing you about my schedule, I was off the last 2 weeks because I
Mhm.
forgot to take the mandated 5 weeks, and then I realized at
Yeah.
the end of November, and I was like, "Might as well just take the last two weeks off of the year," and then next week, I'm out for surgery, and I have a tentative return date, but I don't know. Between all of it, I'm looking at everything, and I was like and I had to figure out who's gonna cover this, who's gonna answer this, and I was like, because I like to learn, I have somehow become important in the last 8 years. When did this happen? I don't remember this. And it is because I'm the person of like, "Oh, I wanna learn that." I go to our accounting office or up to the teller and I'm like, "Hey, how do you do that?" Do I need to
Yeah.
know? No. I'm just curious. What does it look like? What does a day look like for you? What are the parameters? How can I also like to look for solutions and how to make life
Uh-huh.
easier. And I think that's why I like AI so much is like, what can I do to make it
Oh yeah,
easier?
absolutely. And that's
Why
that's the
why else
thing,
can
like, my advice is always, like, of course, there's going to be times that you need to say no to something because you don't have the capacity to do
Yeah.
it up to the standard it should be done, right? But my advice is always, like, whenever a new opportunity comes up, whenever the opportunity to get involved in a new, department or anything like that, like, to learn more about that, always say
Mhm.
yes. Never say no out of fear to anything. Never let that be a reason you say no, because a lot of things do come up and you might question, like, am I the right person for this? Am I going to know enough to be able to do what they're asking me to do? But just never say no out of fear. Always do. The more you can say yes, the quicker you're going to grow. So, of course, like I said, there's going to be times where you have to say no because you don't have the capacity
Yep.
or you can't put your all into it. But say yes when opportunities come up. Say yes so that you can learn things. Say yes so that you realize in a year down the road, you've somehow become this really important piece of knowing all these procedures, like you just said. But honestly, the more you can say yes, the more you have that growth mindset, the more you're gonna learn all along the way, and the more, fun your job becomes because you get to
And
pull all
even
these different pieces into it.
Yeah, and even if you aren't going to know everything, that's part of growth is you're going to learn it. And I've applied for jobs that I've known nothing about, but I've been
Mhm.
like, I can do it.
Yeah,
Case in point, my current position, I knew zero about compliance. And
yeah.
I said, well, let me do it. Just give me a chance. And here we are 4 years later. Like,
Yeah,
it's learned.
exactly. I mean, we're in the same boat, right? Like, I didn't know a ton about consumer lending. Like, I had originated loans in the branches, but I had never been in a consumer lending role. And of course, there's fear there. Of course, when I was first approached about it, I was like, ooh, is this something I can do? But you say yes because you have the confidence that you can learn it and you have the confidence in that skill set that you have, and
Yeah,
you go from there.
just do it.
Yeah,
Feel like Nike.
exactly.
Just do it.
Right.
That's what I say. What advice would you give yourself if you looked back at the very beginning of that, like, random interview call that you got, what advice would you give yourself for that?
Uh, I would say that the biggest piece of advice I would probably give myself is to lean into those learning experiences earlier
Mhm.
in my career. I always wanted to learn. I didn't actively seek out opportunities to continue learning. I always tell myself that I can't let myself get comfortable because I'm someone that once I was comfortable, I don't know if I would be able to like pull myself out of that situation. So there were times that I probably let myself get a little bit too comfortable in the beginning of my career. And just from the beginning, it doesn't matter how young you are, how inexperienced you are, you can always keep learning and keep
Yep,
growing from that knowledge that you gain. Keep asking questions, keep asking why things work the way that they work, asking to see the way different departments do it. Like I said, doesn't matter where you're at in your career or how young and inexperienced you feel, you can always start there. And that learning and that knowledge will help you down any career path you end up taking.
yeah. I think it's also super helpful that luckily we are in an industry that those older than us they're so welcoming in
Yeah.
general. You can walk up to any CEO from any of our credit unions and
Hmm.
just introduce yourself. And even though whether you're 10 years in, you're 5 years in, you're 2 months in, they're still going to be approachable and friendly and kind and ask questions and allow you to grow. And I think
Absolutely.
that's impressionable.
Right, and that's the power of credit unions, right? Like, there's people that have helped me and given me advice. There's people that I still reach out to with a ton of questions that they don't have to help me. Like, they're not obligated to answer
Yeah,
my questions. They're not obligated to give me the advice that they've given me, but they do because credit unions, it's people helping people. And that doesn't just mean the members that utilize us as their financial institution. It means the people that work at the credit union down the street or the people that work at the credit union across the country. Like, that is one of the biggest things that I love about credit unions is just it's people helping people and it's people helping all people, even if it might be a competitor, even if it might be someone that, you met 10 years ago at a conference and you wrote down how you met them and some things you talked about on the back of a business card, and now you're reaching out to them because you're in a new role and you need some advice on something new. Like, everyone loves helping each other, and that's what is um, so impactful about the credit union industry.
I've noticed that I love it when I get, it might seem weird. I love when I get like the email list of like from a random, like, hey, we're looking into this because I can share if I know things because I've learned some things the hard way.
Hmm.
But also I can see what is on other people's radar. Is that something that maybe I need to look at in how we're doing it as well to kind of
Hmm.
maybe I can make it better. So it's not just giving advice, but also seeing like maybe we should look at that
Yeah.
for a reason. And the collaboration is, I don't think, I mean, I came from retail, but I don't think there's really many other places that would be so willing to
Hmm.
share. And that's just me. I'm an active service girly. Like I will give me active service. And if you say you have a problem, if I have a solution for it, I'm going to try to help you. That happened to me last year at Q's Future Summit. Somebody said they have issues. I was like, I have checklists in a spreadsheet tracker. Do you want, like, I can send you a copy to show you what I do if it will help you. And
Right.
they actually have implemented it. And I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
was just showing you what I did to like kind of give you a direction. But if you want to use it,
Mhm.
have at it. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And you brought up a really important point is also making sure that you are providing advice. You are providing, answering questions that you have the ability to answer. I think something that we can start to fall into is we have those people we can ask questions to. We have those resources like
Mhm.
America's Credit Union Councils, things like that, where
Yeah.
you can go in and ask questions, but it can't all be one sided. Like, you need to make sure you're doing your part to help answer questions that are out there and give advice to people. And that's something that always stays really top of mind for me because I know how much advice and questions I have been able to ask people around the credit union industry. And I know how much that has helped me along my journey. So anytime I'm able to connect with someone or connect someone to another person who might be a resource, I always want to make sure that I do that. And it's not just me using the connections to help myself, but also really trying to help all of those, whether they've helped me in the past or not, because I know how many people have helped me along the way.
I love that. That's awesome. That's a good way to look at it too. Of it's almost like a pay it forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love that about our industry. I love that we do that.
I agree.
Kind of wrapping up, what the same question I ask everybody about what is a defining moment that you have, if you have one, or a few? Like, what is a moment that you thought, like, yeah, this is exactly why I do it. This is why I work at a credit union.
Yeah.
Is it just helping someone come out of debt? Is it getting a hug from a member? Like, what do you have any of those moments that you want to share?
I mean, I luckily have had a ton of those moments throughout my
Oh,
career, and it's something that um I still have. Like, it still comes to the realization of, you know what, this is why I do what I do.
mhm.
And I guess my first one would be when I was still I actually was probably still in my internship to be a veterinarian, so it wasn't something I was planning on doing long term yet, and was able to sit down with a member and really help her restructure some of her debt, get it into one payment, and just she actually brought her husband back in a day later, and they were both just in tears at my desk because of how much of a game changer it was for them and their lives and their financial future. And just being on the retail side of it, I got to experience that a lot. And those were always, you always walked away from every one of those moments. You could have just had an interaction with an angry member. You could have just had
Yeah.
really bad day, but you get to have those interactions with members, and it's always like, this is exactly why I do what I do. As
Even on
I've
the hard
grown,
days.
really work as much with members anymore. It's really with my team and the people I've worked with in the past and the times that they come and they say, you know what, this made a big impact on me or anything like that. So I love those moments. I love when you hear that something small that you've done that you didn't even know would have much ramification made that big impact on someone's life, whether it's your team or a member.
I love it. I saw a member Tuesday and I hadn't seen her in like 4 years. And she was in an office and I kind of knocked on the door and she instantly recognized me and gave me a hug. And I was like, yeah, this
Yeah.
this is this is what it is. Seeing those moments, those
Yep.
connections.
And I
And I
think
think
it's so
sometimes,
easy to forget too, like
yeah,
the impact you can have on your community's lives. Like what we do is a big deal. Like it is
yeah,
not it's health and finances, those are the 2 biggest things that people worry about, right? And we have the ability to help ease their mind when it comes to finances and put them in a situation that's gonna better their financial future, and it's so easy to forget that when it's something we do every day, but just try to take the time to remember that what we do does have an impact and it does change lives, and, I mean, it makes it so easy to keep doing what you're doing.
yeah. And remembering that this is why we're here. It's definitely an interesting one. And like I love hearing about member stories and what we've because I've had so many of those interactions that I mean, I've had a member buy me a drink out when he saw me downtown before. I was like, okay, I mean, I'm not gonna say no, but
Right.
hey, it's nice to see you outside of work when I'm, a little pissed, but okay. Hi. I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for hopping on and all of the reschedules and all of it and talking. And I'm
No,
excited. I
thank
was
you
excited to
for
talk to you.
having me on here. I love this idea. I love what you're
Thank you.
doing, especially now that I know that it's not in your comfort zone. It's something that you've done to step out of your comfort
It is
zone. I
so
love
out
it
of my
even more
comfort
now.
zone, but
Yeah.
it's 100% out of my comfort zone. And I had a meeting with the state leaders earlier. I'm really excited because I'm going to crash their quarter 2 meeting to talk to some people about advocacy for the podcast and
Yeah.
promoting. And I've got some really cool things on the agenda this year for it and really start to focus. I mean, the first few months was just kind of getting my footing, and now we're gonna
Yeah.
start. I'm excited, and yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see how it goes this year.
I love it. Great
Yeah,
job. Great
thank
job.
you.
And
Thank you. I'm gonna try my best. And I'm pretty sure I have you on LinkedIn, so
oh yeah, I'm
I
sure.
will connect and we'll network and have a good time. And yeah, have a good weekend.
Yeah. Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.